Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Corporal Daniel Hodgson. We warmly welcome the family of Sergeant Eric Harvey Longbottom, whose story will be told shortly. The ACT Emergency Services Agencies comprise over 1,500 full-time and volunteer personnel. Their duties include providing emergency management services to the ACT and the surrounding southeast New South Wales region. We sincerely thank them for their efforts in ensuring the safety of our community. We are honoured to acknowledge Minister for Police and Emergency Services, ACT Legislative Assembly Mick Gentleman, and ACT Emergency Services Agency Commissioner Wayne Phillips. ACT Emergency Services Agency Assistant Commissioner Corporate Megan Davis, and ACT Emergency Services Agency Assistant Commissioner Operations Jason Jones, ACT Fire and Rescue Chief Officer Matthew Shonk, and ACT Rural Fire Service Chief Officer Rowan Scott, ACT State Emergency Services Chief Officer Anthony Draham, and ACT Ambulance Service Chief Officer Howard Wren, and also the accompanying delegation. We warmly welcome Wing Commander Bob Howe, retired, representing the Air Force Association. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Club Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed at the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Sergeant Eric Harvey Longbottom. Eric Harvey Longbottom was born in Riverton, South Australia, on the 30th of October, 1916. The eldest son of Oliver and Hilda Longbottom. His younger brother Max was born the following year. Eric attended Riverton Primary School and Riverton District High School, where, as a senior student, he was a house captain. Longbottom went to work as a clerk in the records office at Keswick Military Barracks before returning home to work as a drapery assistant with Riverton Service Stores, while his evenings were taken up studying accountancy. Outside of work and study, he enjoyed athletics, Australian rules football, cricket, tennis, and golf. He also had a keen interest in photography. Longbottom was a well-known and popular figure in Riverton. He was active in the town's Methodist church community, being an officer of the church, a third-degree officer in the Order of Knights, and the Sunday school's superintendent. His life motto was the utmost for the highest. Following the outbreak of the Second World War, Longbottom joined the Royal Australian Air Force in Adelaide on the 1st of March, 1941. He was selected for aircrew and 2 weeks later remustered for pilot training. After attending No. 7 Elementary Flying Training School in Tasmania and No. 1 Service Flying Training School at Point Cook, Victoria, Longbottom was awarded his flying badge and promoted to sergeant. He returned to South Australia for pre-embarkation leave and became engaged to his sweetheart, Jean Rowe. Longbottom embarked for service in England on the 17th of November. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 27,500 RAAF pilots, navigators, wireless operators, air gunners, and flight engineers who, throughout the course of the war, joined Royal Air Force squadrons or Australian squadrons based in Britain. Arriving in the United Kingdom in late February 1942, Longbottom spent the next several months at Royal Air Force training schools, learning to fly 4-engine bombers. On the 11th of June, he was posted to No. 27 Operational Training Unit based at Litchfield. On the 19th of July 1942, Longbottom and his crew were detailed to carry out a non-operational cross-country flight. As the pilot, Longbottom was instructed to keep his Wellington bomber at 7,000 feet. The aircraft lifted off on time and communications were good. About 12:30 that afternoon, the aircraft's radio became unserviceable and Longbottom decided to fly below the clouds to check his position. The aircraft had gone off course, and during its descent, the Wellington crashed into Mount Snowdon, killing all on board. Sergeants Rupert Bannister, Lionel Traylon, Richard Bowen, Samuel Wilson, and Eric Harvey Longbottom, who was 25 years old. It took 10 days for ground crews to reach the crash site and recover the bodies. Longbottom's remains were laid to rest on the 3rd of August in the Lunbablig Public Cemetery, Carnarvon, North Wales. The inscription on his headstone reads, "Honoured and remembered by loved ones at home, in God's care." His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left. among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Sergeant Eric Harvey Longbottom, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.